this is a completely different Bulls team than what we saw last year. And there's been, I would argue, an equal amount of excitement and, people outside of the Bulls fan base noticing the Bulls and being optimistic about them. But there's also been like an equal amount of pessimism and questioning about certain moves and DeMar DeRozan this and cap space this and how the backcourt looks and the front court depth, stuff like that. So like I think it's a good thing that we're even being talked about this much because it shows that we're meaningful. Really just to get into the nitty gritty. So this is a little bit of a Chicago Bulls season preview. We played really well thus far in the preseason. First two games, I'm pretty sure, I think we won by 36. Highlights all over the place. It's looking good. You don't want to put too much into the preseason, but at the same time, you rather be a team that's performing really well in the preseason than being a team that's struggling.
I think we are going to see a team that is going to surprise a lot of people. They're very gritty on defense in the preseason, which to me, that says a lot that they're even trying to defend in the preseason. Like that tells me everything that I need to know about kind of the culture they have over there right now. I think the biggest thing, the question marks that we have about the Bulls doesn't make sense, sure, right? Like, I mean, we have a new team. DeMar DeRozan's never been an outside shooter from three per se. Very much a 90s game. Zoe's been shooting the ball extremely well for the last 2 years. But of course, people talk about, can you do it in a bigger market? Zach never been to the playoffs. So there's a lot. Vucevic not a good defender. What is our bench going to look like with Kobe out for a month? Pat Williams. So we have question marks there warranted, but I think we're going to surprise a lot of people. Honestly, I will be disappointed if the Bulls don't win at least 48 to 50 games. Like, I would legitimately be disappointed because the talent on the roster is there, right? Like Kobe White, right? Let's take Kobe. Kobe averaged 16 points a game last season. Now, Kobe's literally all he's going to have to focus on is scoring off the bench. That's it. He's not going to have to do anything else. Like, you're talking about a kid who's had 9 30-point games in his short career already. And now you just going to tell him, just go score that thing? Like, man, come on now. Patrick Williams, we saw him in the summer league getting more comfortable. DeMar DeRozan coming off a season where he averaged 7 assists a game, most of his career. Like, guys are redefining their games and reinventing themselves. So it's going to be exciting, bro. Like, and the Bulls are going to play small for once. We really haven't seen that with the Bulls. Like, that's not been a thing ever with the Bulls. We've always had bulky front lines, but we're about to play a lot of small ball, dude. And I think we're finally getting terms with today's NBA. And I think Billy Donovan's about to surprise a lot of people too, in terms of like what Billy does to coaching. I mean, he gets a lot of pub, but like people also sleep on Billy's really good.
Yeah. What you were saying as far as the Bulls committing to play small ball, again, preseason games, but Javonte Green was playing. He's playing power forward.
Yeah.
He's similar to how the Nets lose Bruce Brown as being almost like a 4, but he's like 6'5", and he sets screens, shoots a nice floater, like defends bigs, and just energy, effort, defensive minded. And even beyond that, you might look at the Bulls and say, yeah, your front court is a big issue because I don't know. I'm gonna get out Simonovic, the rookie. Tony Bradley's very average, if we're being generous. And then we got Vucevic, who's an all-star caliber center, really good offensively. But it's like, okay, what are we getting out of this team as far as like defensive anchors in the paint? And like you said, they're committed to small ball and they're committed to utilizing their wings who have length, who have athleticism, like Javonte Green, Troy Brown Jr., Derrick Jones Jr., and obviously Patrick Williams. Those guys are going to have to step up. Even maybe DeMar DeRozan sometime, but those guys are going to have to step up and get busy down low and guard some power forwards. But what's important to understand, like, these guys are athletic, they have length, and they're capable of performing it. And, thinking about how the NBA have shifted to such a heavy guard-dominated pick and roll, trying to expose teams that switch, and it's important to be able to defend that. And I think when you play smaller and you rely on guys' length and activity, it's going to always be better for those matchups because, there's only a handful of centers that are really getting busy down low. Most of the time, you're playing perimeter-focused teams. And so, quiet as it's kept, the Bulls had the 11th ranked defense last year. And, you look at that roster last year, who's really defensive minded, Thad Young, sure, Patrick Williams, sure. But I think this year, what you've seen kind of early on, you got Caruso's undoubtedly one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. You got Javonte Green, like we just mentioned, Troy Brown Jr., Patrick Williams. And on top of that, you saw Zach LaVine improve. And a lot of times, you think about like a DeMar DeRozan, who's been a career, at best, average defender. A lot of times, given your role and, the reality for DeMar DeRozan, his role is not going to be primary ball handler on this team. He's going to have his moments, but I think this still runs through Zach LaVine as the go-to. And it might be a toss-up between him and Vooch as far as who take on that secondary offensive role on a night-to-night basis. So maybe DeMar DeRozan at this age, understanding where he's at, can kind of commit more to playing defense. They play really good defense as far. Vucevic had 3 steals in multiple games in the preseason. I have faith in Billy Donovan. There's teams almost every year in the East that will, like, maybe in the West as well, but think about the Hawks teams of the past, or even you can argue the Bulls teams that would pace the East, be top 1-2 seed, win a bunch of games, but you kind of always know in the back of your mind, like, they don't have what it takes to beat the best of the best. I can imagine the situation when the Bulls are that team where they're one of the best records in the NBA. They're playing really good ball, but it's a playoff series against the Bucks or the Nets, and it kind of gets sticky. But that's kind of like just my outlook in general.
A guy like Zach LaVine, who we saw in the Olympics, like, truly commit to be a two-way player. Like, is Zach going to do that for any 2-game season where it's just grueling, right? Like, will DeMar potentially start taking threes? Like, he got a great shot. Like, was he going to be?
He's made a few.
Is my boy Zoe, bro, got his throw back, right? Like, is he going to keep chopping with the throw the way that he was doing down in New Orleans? Like, a lot of different things, man. But yeah, it's just an exciting time. What do you think for, like, this to be a good season? Like, what needs to happen other than, like, okay, guys meshing well together and playing at the top of their game? Like, obviously chemistry is a big thing, but, like, what are some things that, like, you've been thinking about? It's like maybe not the top of mind in terms of, like, what's pivotal, but, like, that we need to do to be successful?
For me, it's going to be the identity of the second unit. Based off the preseason, through the first 3 games, Caruso has led the Bulls in assists every single game. And it's gonna be interesting and he's not leading them in assists because of just guys are out, yada yada. He's a talented passer and it's a skill set he has. So I think that's something that's gonna carry over into the regular season as well. But basically, like, the identity of that second unit, how's that gonna look? Where is that scoring gonna come from? We assume Kobe White, but who's initiating offense, and even more so maybe just how Donovan might look to stagger minutes between our big 3, Vooch, DeMar, and Zach. So that's a big thing for me, because I think potential wise the Bulls can have a really, really good bench. I think this could be the return of the bench mob. I think those guys that come in, like, I love Troy Brown. A lot of people didn't even consider Javonte Green to be a legitimate part of the rotation, but after watching the preseason, it seemed like a done deal that he's going to get minutes. And so, how does this all look together? Who's going to step into that role? How is Caruso and Kobe White going to look when they come onto the court? Those things for me, because that starting lineup, man, only a handful of teams are going to be able to match that type of firepower from the offensive setting. And then,
facts.
So that's probably one of the things I'm interested to look at, just seeing how that second unit comes out and kind of how they operate with each other, especially in that backcourt.